Welcome back guys to a brand new video. Now today we have episode 1925 of ARK is broken again. The devs are probably watching this like, Dom, not another video of ARK is broken. Dolly's probably going to want to slap me round the face. She's probably wants to go whoosh right round my face. She's like, not another video of Dom talking about the game being broken. But unfortunately, I've tried recording this video about 3 times and the game has crashed. And this video isn't all going to be about the game is broken, because it's going to be giving some credit to the game, because personally, as I've seen recently, the game is growing. No matter that it's had so many issues, and it has so many issues right now, the numbers are showing completely different. And also, I personally really like this upgrade to Astraeos, and I am looking forward to the one coming in summer. But we're going to be talking about the next thing that is broken with the game, because it's really driving me insane at the moment, and I know a lot of players, and I'm hoping Wildcard will. At the end of the day, I make these videos because I want to reach out to Wildcard. I want to show them how frustrating it has been for me and a lot of other players, because obviously I run the LoadedCrysis cluster, and we've had so many reports of this crash on console and PC. So if you enjoy this video, drop a like, subscribe, it really supports me, and we're going to talk about this issue. So, you guys know, we're going to take it all the way back to when this update dropped, which was the Astraeos Mega update. Now, I have to say, Pyranthos is beautiful, amazing, and it adds such a cool new vibe to the game, and especially now the Hydra boss has been fixed and you don't fall straight through the map when you do it. It really does add such a beautiful appeal, and I love how Nakatus takes a lot of inspiration from Lord of the Rings and takes lots of inspiration from so many different other titles and implements it into ARK, because that's what I love about ARK. You know, the roleplay side of it is just so much fun, and I enjoy it more than ever. The problem was, when this update dropped, it did bring some of the biggest issues we've ever seen in ARK in a long time. The official network was down for a crazy amount of time. I think it was like over 2 days, if I'm correct, which doesn't sound like a crazy amount of time, but being an ARK player and being in the ARK community, ARK players can't go about 15 minutes without their ARK fix, otherwise all craziness lets loose. You know, and obviously people worry about what's going to happen to their progress, and you know, obviously Wildcard are like probably like, we need to get the official server up, but it's just obviously a bit crazy. It caused rollbacks, it caused all of that stuff, but no matter what time in life you've ever played ARK, whether that's in Ascended or whether that's on ARK Survival Evolved, you will know that rollbacks are not a rare occasion. They happen a lot. Sometimes we get a nice period where we don't get them for a little while, but unfortunately that is the case. So, lots of fixes, and can I just say this part of the map is absolutely beautiful. I love the water. One of the things I love the most about Ascended is the detail, the kind of details like this. So, all of these different issues, all of these different save corruption stuff, they fixed them. And I have to say to Wildcard, as much as there's about 20,000 patches after a new major update goes live, they do end up fixing the issues. And when I tell you, especially running my cluster, it's one of the most relieving things when, you know, a lot of people are looking at you and you're kind of looking at Wildcard, and you're sort of like, you're just so relieved to just to know that people's saves are safe. They're not having to have hours wasted with rollbacks. So, after we kind of got through all of those issues, we're now faced with a brand new one. And this new one, it happens mostly on multiplayer, but it's happened on single player as well. It is where the game is just completely exiting and crashing. Now, it's happening on Steam, and that's when you know it's a serious issue, because with console, you know, you kind of always expect that some form of issue when it comes to console, right? Because unfortunately, the game is always that little bit behind PC in terms of technology. Not all of that comes down to Wild Wildcard. Some of it comes down to Wildcard, but obviously the difference of PC, you know, maybe when the new Project Helix comes out, which is the new Xbox project, you know, who knows, maybe that will change things dramatically if you were an ARK player, but obviously the technology is just a little bit far behind. On PC, it tends to happen that when I'm tabbing out of ARK, my game just instantly crashes, and I can't really spend much time out of the game if I'm just checking something else on my PC, because that's when I tend to crash the most. Or when transferring, that sometimes can cause issues for players, which for me is the most terrifying part, right? Because if you crash when you're transferring, that tends to be when you could lose your character, and that's something that some people choose to do. Some people don't. People pick the right moments, and I tend to try and let people know when transfers are safe, because obviously that just gives people a bit of an indication. I've always got an eye on Studio Wildcard and their kind of updates and stuff within what the stability's like, because, you know, if it's not stable and there's issues with transfers, I would always stick to whatever map I'm on. That is always something I recommend. You know, just sort of chill out for the night on your and even if it's not your home map, maybe start to enjoy it in another way that you ever have before, just because your character means the most. And look at this big guy that got added to the game. So yeah, I think overall, right, this patch has been great, and as you can see obviously in the distance, is like we did a video the other day talking about how the Kraken is coming, and this is one of the next points that is coming to Astraeos. We've got 20% left to go until the map becomes 100% complete. Nakatas has already told us that it's been confirmed that it's 80% done at our current point, and can I just say, this part of the map is also so beautiful. Whoever gets this spot is going to have a lot of fun. So yeah, but I think the major concerning factor right now is just the, you know, whenever there's a major patch, it seems to implement a major issue. And whilst this crashing issue isn't like a save corruption one, which is the ones that I tend to hate the most, because they're the ones that can actually affect progress in the game. And it's just really, like I said the other day, I said ARK sometimes feels like it's a leaky pipe, where it's the best pipe ever that was created like 10 years ago, right? And it's still one of the best pipes out there. Like, I'm saying that about ARK being one of the best games for me personally ever in the world. And I know it's I'm not saying that as a performance of the game, but the idea behind the game, the fun, the amount of hours people want to sink into it. But when that pipe, because it is a little bit old, it gets a bit of a leak, and after that gets a bit of a leak, we're constantly putting tape around it. We're constantly putting more and more tape around that leaky pipe, and over time, when a new addition is put in, this is probably when my point doesn't make any sense, is added in, it creates a new leak in the pipe, or it starts to break through the tape, and then those issues come back, and they, you know, that could be save corruption issues or anything like that, and instead of renewing the entire best up-to-date pipe, it's like we're kind of patching over the top of it. And I just find that if this game one day in the future, like, this is why I am excited for Unreal Engine 5.7, but if this game one day in the future could just have that little bit more stability, and I can't tell you how many years I've probably been saying this for, right? But as I've always said, ARK has always been sitting on a gold mine, in the sense of, I've always believed this is one of the best games in history. What it did in the sense of how popular it was for people, how much fun, how many friends people made, how many relationships have been formed throughout this game. I think it stands here as one of the best games in history on that side of things. But unfortunately, the reputation has already been affected, you know, over so many years of people having, you know, issues, has just kind of caused a lot of frustration, a lot of people, like, a lot more anger. Built up anger in the community, because, you know, I'm not saying that sometimes, you know, I've understood why when people have got really angry, because, you know, sadly people have lost hours, like thousands and thousands of hours of work, and that is understandable, you know, when you spend so much time on a base, and especially with this new crash issue. Again, it's frustrating, but and you know, and this could just be that you're flying on a wyvern or you're flying on anything in the air, you crash and then you fall to your death. So many things like that in ARK, which people look for those kind of TLCs, and I think that's the thing, right, that I think could change ARK in the future is, and change the reputation around it is, we love this game more than everything, right? And we go through whatever issues that we have. And it's been something we've done for years on years on years on years. But what I would really love to see is one day ARK to really do that, to release that kind of No Man's Sky kind of experience. Like, to really one day, I would love to see ARK in the news for good things. I want to see ARK, you know, like they are, you know, they did a lot of promo for Lost Colony, and it was really nice to see ARK back in the spotlight again. You know, really being shown off as something that was really exciting. And unfortunately, Lost Colony launched, and it was full of issues. It was full of issues, and I love this game more than everything, because not just for what it's done for my life and the friends that I've made, and the and just like the beauty of being able to build my YouTube career around this game, and I'm always so grateful for that, and that will never change for me. But for me, I would love to experience just something so new with ARK, like in the sense of not just new content, not just this, like I'm so excited for Dragantopia Gen 1, like it's what I've been waiting for so long, the Gen 1, the Genesis maps and stuff. But I would love to see a No Man's Sky kind of update, and we've got Unreal Engine 5.7 coming, and they're calling it the Magic Bullet. And I do understand why a lot of players don't have so much confidence in that word Magic Bullet, because that word, we were told, obviously, and that comes from Unreal Engine 5.5. I personally think Unreal Engine 5.5 was a good, I personally think it was like a good update. I don't think it was perfect, but I saw improvements. I know my friends saw improvements, but there still was issues. So I think people are kind of at a bit of a, right, okay, you know, they're now actually calling this the Magic Bullet. And then obviously with delays on top of things, that then kind of annoys people a bit more. Initially, the Magic Bullet was meant to be coming in March, but it hadn't been officially announced yet. It's now been officially announced that it's meant to be coming in April. Who knows if that's actually going to be the case, because also Survival of the Fittest is meant to be Q1, and we've not heard anything on Survival of the Fittest yet, and it's like getting close. It's like the middle of March, and the end of March is kind of the end, you know, January to March Q1. I mean, and we've still not heard anything on it. So, you know, I think it's all of these little things bunched into one. It's the fact that the game is so addictive and so amazing, and that's what keeps the players so high. And as I said to you guys earlier today, the numbers are really showing that ARK Ascended is growing, like 40 to 50,000 players, concurrent players, by the way. Can I say that's on a daily basis? And that's, I couldn't even speak, nearly choked there, but that is what Wildcard are doing right now, and that's just on PC, you know, that's just on Steam. So the numbers are good, and people love the game, and people are used to it. But you think about the unlimited potential that Wildcard could have if one day they said, right, do you know what? And I know it comes down to money, and I know it comes down to profits, and companies need to make their revenue. But I just think if this Unreal Engine 5.7 can unlock something we've not had before, then I would love to see Wildcard be like, right, we've taken this has given us this step this far to improve performance. Let's now go for a full revamp, and whether that means that DLCs or whatever might get pushed back a little bit, then that's cool with me. Like, I think for me, more exciting than a DLC would be able to be a infrastructure that they've built on that means more stability. And I'm not saying everything's going to be perfect, right? No game is perfect. No game will ever be perfect. But it's just a matter of fact that ARK has always been known as the game that has issues, has rollbacks, has character losses, has, you know, has delays, that kind of thing. They've always just had that reputation, and Jeremy recently talked about it in an interview, and I don't want ARK to have that reputation anymore. I want that reputation gone. I want that to be something that was known of the past. Wildcard's old mistakes. And they have mentioned in the past that they'd learned from old mistakes. And do I believe they've improved? Yes, they have. They actually have. And I do think that goes under the radar more than we truly realize. And this isn't me just giving them so much credit, because loads of people, well, I said there's a small group that have said, oh Dom, you never you're always saying how amazing Wildcard are, and I'm like, am I? I think I'm one of the main people that will always sort of talk about situations like this when they need to be talked about. But I will give credit where credit's due. And by the way, do I think they can do better? Yes, than they've done. Their improvements have been good, but they've not been good enough. Like they said that they used to have month-long delays, and now they only have like a couple of weeks, or not even that. And that's great and all, but I think as a company that has a really dedicated fan base that supports you more than anything, and I think we do as an ARK community, I think you should be striving for even better. I think you should be striving for hitting, like, delays are delays, right? But I reckon even just starting with one launch that's smooth and is on time, and I think you would see a crazy just reaction from the community. When this Astraeos update launched on time, we saw a massive amount of the community just be like, oh wow, it's launched at a reasonable update time. And I do see sometimes Wildcard say, well, we're a Seattle studio and this is how we do things, and fair enough if that is the way they're going to do updates. And I, as a content creator, have got used to that, and I have got used to doing videos at silly hours in the morning and staying up for updates, and I know so many of you guys do that too. But when this launched at 7 PM my time, I had never experienced that in years, and it was such a nice feeling. And I'm not saying it all comes down to my time, because there's always people in, but like when you see other game updates and when there's a big launch, they kind of always launch at a nice time for all kind of time zones. Like, I think for maybe the biggest population of their time zones, and to be fair, US is clearly the most amount of players in ARK, like 100%. So you kind of always do go for that, and that has never bothered me. I've always sort of been around for those time zones and everything like that. But it was quite nice to just see something that was a little bit more in the middle for everything, and I just think sometimes that can be a little bit more fair. But either way, that's just small little TLCs that I think they could work on there. And I truly believe that if Wildcard can get something out of this Unreal Engine 5.7 update, then that would just be an amazing, amazing feeling. And not just like an update where we're expected to feel we're so excited for it, and then we're kind of like, have you noticed anything? Maybe a bit, not sure, crash. So yeah, and anyway, I'm really missing, because someone in my cluster has built a massive ship over here, like right here on the Pyranthos map. They've built a huge ship. It's absolutely beautiful. But anyway, guys, it was kind of a sit and talk video today, because I thought that that's what I kind of wanted to do today. I just felt like there was a new issue that was breaking the game and people are crashing, and I just was like, after everything, I was just a bit like, come on, we need to just let everyone enjoy the Astraeos map, let everyone enjoy the patch, and let's just try and have some stability, because sooner or later we've got, as I said, we have the Survival of the Fittest launching, which I'm really hoping is going to be good. We've got Unreal Engine 5.7, which I'm terrified about, but I'm hoping that Wildcard are going to be able to pull this off. And then we've got Genesis Part 1, and we just want to see a little bit more stability when it comes to the launches of this in 2026. Can Studio Wildcard pull it off? Who knows? But anyway, you guys at Studio Wildcard know I love you, and you know I make these videos and they probably really annoy you, but sometimes I just have to make them, because there's a little rant from my side about it's not, I wouldn't even call it a rant. I would say it's more just about wanting better for the game, and I reckon you could look back in the history files of, you know, all the times I've just tried my best to get behind the game, and there's been some amazing moments, and then there's been other videos of me being like, I've tried my best and this game always breaks and stuff, and that had been like a recent thing with, you know, with the Astraeos update. And I just want, from the bottom of my heart, Studio Wildcard, for, I know you want it too, and there must be a reason why it doesn't happen. It must be a reason about what the game's built on, or something. And I see a lot of comments, and I never know which ones are true, where people are saying, oh, I looked into the game files a bit, and this is the reason for this, and this is the reason for that. So I always would love to just like have like an interview with like a dev one day, like who builds the game, like whether that's Jeremy or Jesse, and just really understand the reasons why they experience these issues, and if there's ever going to be a way in the future that they could solve them, if that makes sense. Like, if they see as technology improves, can they see this getting completely better, or are we always kind of going to be, for the rest of our lives, experiencing ARK in a way where when there's an update, you don't jump into the game straight away? You know, every game, when an update drops, they experience server issues. That's the struggle to load into the server because so many people are trying to get onto at the same time. That's different. It's more about game corruption in the sense of files, saves corrupting, you know, player progress being affected. I don't think people would care so much if it was just, oh, I can't get into the servers right now, but then they do and everything's safe. You know, I think the main thing is that players just want to know that their progress is safe, and, you know, they don't lose. I think that, for me, I mean, I could be wrong, but that for me would be ARK players is #1, and also not falling through the map and dinos falling through the mesh. I can't tell you how many dinos I've rescued on the cluster now. It's a crazy amount. That kind of thing. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy, drop a like, subscribe. Looking forward to reading the comments on this one. I'll see you guys later.